Mitchell. Cross in towards White. That's number 6, Steve White. Well, he's always been a consistent goal scorer, and he's on the mark again there. Well, questions being asked at the back among the Torquay defenders. But that's a really excellent headed goal by Steve White. So 6-0, Swindon lead. So a footballing lesson really for Torquay United. Exhibition football from Swindon, who were very, very impressive at times, and far too strong for this young, inexperienced Torquay side. 3 up at half-time, 3 more in the second half from Taylor, Mitchell, and then substitute Steve White. And it turned into something of a rout. Swindon the winners of this Coca-Cola second round first leg by 6-0.
I've watched them once, and a couple of my coaches have watched them as well, and I thought, you know, we might have had a glimmer of hope really to have beaten them, but obviously they raised their game, and they come out and give us a good lesson in football.
They seem to have another gear to click into when they needed it, really.
Yeah, very much so. They've got a lot of experience in their side, and we've just got to go away and learn. Simple as that. I've learned tonight as a manager, and the players have got to learn as players tonight.
It was very good to score as many goals as we did, but we were pleased with keeping a clean sheet for once, and it's something we've worked on the last couple of days. Watched a video of our game at the weekend, and it's something we've got to tighten up on. If we do it at the back, we always seem to score goals, but we're conceding maybe too many, and that was pleasing tonight, but in the end a very nice result.
Torquay made an impressive start at Gig Lane, determined to wipe out the memory of that 6-0 cup drubbing. But it was Bury who opened the scoring, much against the run of play. The goal from the penalty spot after Chris Curran had brought down Kevin Hume. It's Liam Robinson stepping up to convert the spot kick. Well, Torquay continued to press forward with abandon and came so near to levelling the scoreline, but Bury added a second 2 minutes from time, again from the penalty spot. Darren Moore harshly adjudged to have handled the ball, and it was Alan Neal's turn to convert. Bury 2, Torquay 0. Strange decision that. As for Torquay, an early goal by Sean Joyce looked likely to bring them victory at Darlington on Friday night. But then in the second half, the tide turned dramatically. It started with a confused penalty decision. Nick Pickering apparently tripped here. The man with the spot kick, former goal, Mark Doby. 17 minutes later, Paul Marking allowed Tim Parkin a free header. And then a through ball gave Steve Mardenborough the chance to kill off Torquay with 10 minutes left. Darlington weren't quite finished, though. A fine solo effort from Andy Toman rounded off the evening. Darlington 4, Torquay 1. Oh dear. Well, to Rugby was 7-0 down within 2 minutes. Glenn Hoddle, the scorer. Well, after 10 minutes, Swindon made it 2-0. A right-wing cross from Mitchell, and Steve White scored with a shot on the turn from 15 yards. And they made it 3-0 before the break. Glenn Hoddle passed to Martin Ling, and his through ball released Mitchell, who scored with a low drive into the corner. Torquay had their moments. After about 32 minutes, Chris Myers played a 1-2 with substitute Adrian Foster, but his low shot was well held by Swindon goalkeeper Nicky Hammond. Into the second half, and a real let-off for Torquay when Martin Ling played the ball inside from Mickey Hazard, and his 20-yard shot beat the goalkeeper, then hit the crossbar and was cleared by defender Chris Curran. But after 65 minutes, Torquay pulled the goal back when skipper Chris Myers fired home a quickly taken free kick from 25 yards. And then amazingly, Torquay scored again when Nicky Hammond made a hash of a clearance, leaving Adrian Foster to run forward and roll the ball into an empty net. In fact, Foster nearly snatched a draw when his powerful left-foot shot hit the inside of the post on 90 minutes. Final score on the night, though, Swindon 3, Torquay 2. On aggregate, Swindon 9, Torquay 2.
So a brave fight back indeed there by Torquay United, and at least they've come away with some pride, but it really was always going to be an impossible task.
High Priest.
Meanwhile, Torquay duly went out at Swindon, 6-0 down after the first leg. It was 7-0 within 3 minutes. Glenn Hoddle, the scorer. After 10 minutes, Swindon got their second of the night, a neatly taken effort from Steve White from 15 yards out. And what a stylish way to bring up your 200th senior goal. 15 minutes later, and another big score looked on the cards. This time it was Martin Ling releasing Dave Mitchell, and his shot made it 3-0. But Torquay kept battling, and after the break restored their pride, first through Chris Myers, and then through substitute Adrian Foster, who was given a real present by goalkeeper Nicky Hammond. Foster's goal made it 3-2 on the night, 9-2 to Swindon on aggregate.
4 minutes.
Meanwhile, Torquay's crusade for brighter soccer goes on, though the goals aren't having the best of luck. They found themselves a goal down at Playmore. Andy Morris in just the right place at the right time. But that was the last we saw of the Derbyshire side until much later in the game. Torquay took full control, levelling the scores with his scramble goal from Sean Joyce after good work by Adrian Foster. And they were deservedly ahead after 55 minutes. John Fashanu, the playmaker. In the end, it's Scott Colcombe laying on the perfect ball for Adrian Foster's 4th goal of the season. But after hitting the woodwork and having what seemed a perfectly fine goal disallowed, United committed Harry Carey late in the game when Colcombe brought down Williams in the penalty area. Turnbull converted, final score Torquay 2, Chesterfield 2, but United say they won't be changing a thing.
They are good to watch there. Well,
First time they've met in the FA Cup. In fact, they played twice in the 80s, and on both occasions, Torquay won. This was the 2-0 win in 1984. But the recent form of both sides means that no one at Plainmoor will be taking Yeovil lightly.
Meanwhile, it's going from bad to worse for Torquay. Their 2-0 defeat by fellow strugglers Carlisle, this the visitors' second from Riccardo Gabbiadini, has left United perilously near the foot of the 3rd Division table. The only consolation for manager Paul Compton is that his talented central defender Darren Moore hasn't suffered a long-term injury. Moore, who's been attracting Premier League scouts to Playmore, lay unconscious for 7 minutes following a second-half collision, but the neck injury isn't serious.
Good news there at least. Now 6th from the bottom of Division 2. Meanwhile, for Torquay, new keeper Jurgen Summers was in commanding form when called upon, though that was rare. It looked like being a tame draw. Then Adrian Foster transformed the afternoon. After 59 minutes, he met a Paul Hall cross to put Torquay ahead. Then it was checkmate in 2 moves. 1, the long hoof upfield. 2, the thumping drive into the net. Foster's double, and 3 invaluable points for the Gulls. Gillingham 0, Torquay 2.
what a goal.
Torquay United are scarcely better off after their defeat by Rochdale last night. Justin Fashanu tried, Robbie Herrera and Sean Joyce tried, but there was no way through for the Gulls. And there should have been no way through at the other end either. But after 37 minutes, a tangle between Jurgen Sommer and Herrera opened the door for Steve Whitehall. It wasn't the big keeper's night. The slightest of deflections sent him the wrong way 17 minutes from time. Torquay wrong-footed throughout the match. 2-0 the final score.
And a marvellous win too for Torquay at Halifax. With Justin Fashanu back up front, United grabbed the lead on the half hour. Adrian Foster firing an unstoppable shot from the edge of the box. And 8 minutes later, it was Fashanu himself taking the glory as he coolly picked his spot after good work by Foster. Nothing wrong with Torquay's away form at the moment. Final score, Halifax 0, Torquay 2.
Good win there from Argyle's.
Yeovil Town don't have their famous slope to scare cup opponents anymore, but it was all downhill for them at Torquay this afternoon. Paul Wilson, playing with a broken nose, sniffed out the only goal of the first half, the first of many for Yeovil. Number 7, Paul Sanderson, was their main troublemaker. Torquay number 5, Darren Moore, his main victim. At a level of the game when you wait all season for the cameras to come to town, Moore had one of those days, and Mickey Spencer moved in for number 2 and then was moved out of the crowd. Torquay, from the bottom half of the 3rd division, were broken by 2 second-half penalty decisions. Moore clumsily bumping over Sanderson for the first, hardly clear-cut, but the man on the spot, Paul Batty, did the business to the keeper's left. 20 minutes later, he was on duty again. A harsh handball decision given against number 6, Chris Curran. Never easy to call, but the finger of fate was pointing the way out of the cup for Torquay. Batty's second penalty just as impressive to the keeper's right. There were only 7 minutes remaining when Torquay fashioned a comeback of sorts. Justin Fashanu, still a force in the air, helped set up a scruffy goal for Adrian Foster. Temperatures rising now, and indeed Torquay's Paul Hall and Yeovil's Steve Harrower were sent off for scuffling before substitute Stuart Hurd raised faint hopes of a great escape for the home side. But Yeovil have dispatched more league clubs from the FA Cup than any other giant slayer, and Torquay became scalp number 15 on the back of Paul Batty's 3rd goal. A record-breaking day for one of the competition's most romantic names, and a first-ever hat-trick for Paul Batty to celebrate.
Well, we're joined by the central characters from both those games. Yeovil Town player-manager Steve Rutter, their hat-trick hero Paul Batty, and Bath's player-manager Tony Ricketts.
Yeovil earned their place in the second-round draw with an emphatic victory over Torquay at Plainmoor on Saturday. Paul Wilson's diving header set them on their way. But as far as Torquay were concerned, the real misery of the afternoon didn't begin to unfold until the second half.
Coates with a little chip in. Moore, and a goal. Terrible mistake by Darren Moore, and Mickey Spencer puts Yeovil 2-0 in front, and how the away fans celebrate. Spencer looking for Sanderson, and that will be a penalty kick. Sanderson adjudged to have been tripped by Darren Moore, and referee Mr. Wilkes has no hesitation in pointing to the spot. So Paul Batty against Matthew Lowe, and Batty scores. 3-0 to Yeovil.
If Torquay were upset by that first penalty award, they were incensed by the second, when Chris Curran was adjudged to have handled the ball. They claimed that he couldn't get out of the way, although the slow-motion replay does suggest that Curran moved his arm into the path of the ball. The end result was the same, with Batty slotting home his second goal of the afternoon. Torquay managed to pull a goal back when Adrian Foster picked up the pieces from a Fashanu header to force the ball in from the narrowest of angles. Then came the ugliest incident of an action-packed afternoon as Paul Hall and Steve Harrower clashed. Despite protests from angry United players, beleaguered referee Clive Wilkes reached for the red cards. But the drama of an unforgettable cup tie was far from over.
Gardner crossing towards the far post. Well, that's a chance, and Stuart Hurd puts another ball into the net for Torquay United. And a time ball from Spencer. Sanderson with the effort. Low. And that surely finishes the game in style. As far as Yeovil are concerned, Paul Batty completing a hat-trick and completing the rout of Torquay United.
I think because of the conditions, there was mistakes going to be made. And luckily, Torquay made the first few errors and we capitalised on it, although we're disappointed about giving 2 goals.
Chester 0. But Torquay manager Paul Compton is clearly feeling the pressure at the moment after 4 consecutive home defeats. United started well enough against Scunthorpe on Saturday, with Trollope unlucky there. Torquay, though, not getting the breaks at the moment, and it came as no surprise when Scunthorpe took the lead after 53 minutes. Ian Helliwell chasing a clever kick ahead to ram the ball past Jürgen Sommer. Well, to their credit, the Gulls fought back with a vengeance, with substitute Scott Colcombe leading the charge. In fact, he came near to scoring himself just seconds after coming on. And Adrian Foster, too, brought a great save out of veteran Mark Samways after fine work by Fashanu, but 1-0 it stayed. And they were unlucky. Right, let's turn to rugby union. Courage League action from a real cliffhanger at Clifton in a moment.
Park, where Exeter made merry in the Autoglass Trophy at the expense of poor Torquay United. The electricians got it right at St James Park last night, and so did City, who made light work of their Devon rivals. The returning Danny Bailey must have enjoyed every minute. They took the lead after 19 minutes, striking with clinical efficiency down the right. A well-flighted cross, and Steve Moran with a near-post header. Torquay only had themselves to blame for the second goal. Jurgen Sommer was under little pressure from the back pass, but his clearance was poor, and he got his just desserts. Eamon Collins with the long-range chip. Winger John Hodge was a constant problem to the goals. In the second half, Paul Trollope lost patience and gave City their first penalty this season. Steve Moran stepped up to make it 3-0. After 74 minutes, it was Hodge again as the tormentor. His cross met first time by Eamon Dolan. It must have felt like old times for Bailey. A rousing win topped off by Moran's hat-trick. Exeter 5, Torquay 0. Bring on Argyle, say the St James faithful.
City. Meanwhile, there's no end to Torquay's hard luck story. They found themselves a goal down after just 6 minutes at Layer Road on Friday night. Colchester player manager Roy McDonough, the scorer. Without Paul Hall and Justin Fashanu, United staged somewhat of a fight back, hitting the woodwork twice. But Colchester scored a second after 37 minutes to make sure of the points. The goal's now third from bottom.
So yes, Torquay United on the front page of the Nationals, not for their football, rather for the romance between striker Justin Fashanu and the street's Julie Goodyear. Good for Gates at Plainmoor, but is there more to it than all that? Well, we send our special correspondent along to find out.
Now, you know I'm not normally the football type. I'd rather sit at home and watch Coronation Street. But with the news that that fine figure of a man, Justin Fashanu, and the beautiful Bet Lynch were all to be at Plainmoor this Sunday for the match against Shrewsbury, I just couldn't resist it. It was terribly exciting, with Torquay winning 1-0. The score just after half an hour, a super shot from Sean Joyce. And those nasty boys from Sport have told me what a poor side they were at the moment. But now, on to the important news. It seems that Bet was scheduled to put in an appearance with the United boys in the dressing room after the match. We were promised loads of bubbly and the chance to chat about how can I put it, unlikely relationship with Justin. But no sooner had we walked into the dressing room when this rather large gentleman ordered us to switch off our cameras and leave forthwith. Well, words to that effect. We didn't tell you the whole story. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we were driven back down the corridor, though we did manage to catch just this shot of Bet, looking her usual gorgeous self as she walked off back to Granada land with the Torquay players clearly enjoying the whole shenanigans. And lo and behold, look what appeared in the Sun newspaper this morning, a photo of Bet, Justin and the boys whooping it up. Now, how did they manage to get to put that awful man in the trench coat? Does make you wonder, doesn't it? Very strange.
And our thanks to Ian for that inimitable report. Well, joking aside, though, that really was a vital win for Torquay United. Meanwhile, little festive cheer at Torquay. Brave defeat yesterday at Barnet and defeat on Boxing Day to a scrambled goal from visitors Walsall. Dean Smith, the scorer. It was a day when nothing went right for United. Chance after chance came and went, usually over or here, just wide. Foster and Hall came on after the break and carved out more opportunities, but the Walsall goalkeeper led a charmed life. Torquay 0, Walsall 1.
Well, it was just an unfortunate accident. The dog had to be where he was because of the problems we'd got, and basically he was just doing his job, really.
I knew the sub had been on, I couldn't go off, sort of thing, you know, and we had to get the goal. And there was a lot of things that threw my mind. If we hadn't had the extra time for me being down injured, we might not have scored. It's a good story, I suppose, isn't it?
Same way as they'd finished the Old. Chris Curran's early goal for Scarborough setting the pattern for a miserable afternoon for the home side. The only bright spot for United arrived midway through the second half.
Myers then with the corner, playing towards the far post. Johnson. And Ian Johnson puts Torquay United back on terms.
But any hopes of Torquay pulling the game out of the fire rapidly disappeared as their sluggish defence was caught out again and Darren Foreman restored Scarborough's advantage. The final blow came just seconds from the end as Tommy Mooney made the most of a misunderstanding between Johnson and Summer to complete a comfortable victory for Scarborough. Then, football has turned out to be a whole new ball game.
I honestly thought it would be a question of banging some money, I don't know, 100, 200,000, and maybe pop into the club once a week, turn up for the games, maybe do the odd away trip, that sort of thing. Little did I know, nothing like it.
What is it like?
Hard work, hard worry, and it's taking a lot of money, well in excess of £1 million so far.
It's cost me more than I anticipated. I thought we could...
I'm better looking than him, and probably more articulate. Dan's very much in the same boat as me. We get on quite well. He's got the same twisted sense of humour as me, I think, and he's in exactly the same boat. He probably got more potential at Plymouth. I think they could still attract crowds of 12,000 where, well, I can't imagine who we'd have to bring in to get crowds of 12,000 at Torquay. I think probably the militia to actually force people to attend.
Mikey's a nice man.
Never, any manager at our club, whether he be player manager, temporary manager, whatever, if he says I've picked the team, then he's a liar.
The widely held view that Mike Bateson picks the Torquay team does give some indication, though, of the gulf that exists between how the chairmen see themselves and how others see them.
People have got opinions of him because they don't know him. Mike lets me get on with my job. He doesn't pick the team like everybody else suggests.
Mike hasn't always enjoyed probably the warmest relationship with the fans. Do you think that's perhaps a little unfair sometimes?
I think it's very unfair. People have accused him that he's got no love for the club, that he's got no passion for the club, that he's milking the club for what for everything he gets out of the club, and it's just not the case.
I don't think they've known anybody quite like this before. He calls a spade a spade. He has his little meetings in the little club, and the same people turn up all the time. He could have been a politician, actually.
But when it comes to playing political games, Dan Macaulay sees the frustrations that football brings to the ordinary fan, who can't help wondering what the megabucks fanatics get out of it all.
Ulcers, hair loss, grey hairs, sleepless nights.
There must be some bad things as well.
Yeah, occasionally you have to watch the football as well. No, the good things are purely the immediate football things. I do enjoy watching football, particularly Torquay United.
I love football. You see, I've always been a football.
£100,000 for a player now. Those days, as far as I'm concerned, and whether the supporters like me saying this or not, it matters not. The game in Torquay isn't worth it. Managers throughout football generally will do anything to make the team successful. They would pawn the company jewels, whatever, anything to buy players in to make the team successful, whereas the chairman obviously has got to take a longer term view. The chairman also has to ask himself, could, for example, Torquay United sustain First Division football? And clearly the answer is no, it could not. I don't believe we get more than 3,000 home supporters if we were in the First Division. So, therefore, what is the point, really, in spending a fortune on achieving promotion to the First Division?
Both Plymouth Argyle and Torquay United are heavily in debt.
That I would say to anybody thinking of investing in a football club, do not ever think of trying to get the money back out again, because I can't see how my money will ever come out. If and when I decide I've had enough, then it's a question of find a successor and walk away.
Well, I hope I'm there forever.
I've made and the money that's been thrown in certain directions, I wouldn't do that again given a choice. But there's no way I'm thinking of quitting. I'm here. I've put, let's say, I'm in for over $1 million, and I'm not going to walk away from that.
I don't want to get out.
Torquay might have picked up a much-needed point from an uninspiring home game against Bury, but a late goal from Ian Stevens put pay to that. United are now in deep trouble, just 1 point clear of bottom-placed Gillingham. Had all the hallmarks of a goalless draw as two of the third division strugglers seemed intent on squandering what few chances there were. But just when it seemed that the honours might be shared, Justin Fashanu rediscovered his scoring touch to head home Tom Kelly's cross. Fashanu's touch of class ended a barren spell of 5 successive defeats for Torquay, and more importantly, lifted them 4 points clear of bottom-placed Gillingham. Plymouth Argyle's frustration.
There was much more action and controversy at Plainmoor when new goalkeeper Kevin Blackwell gave away a hotly disputed penalty 2 minutes before the half-time whistle. Definitely a nasty bobble, but the replay clearly shows that Blackwell got his foot to the ball before making contact with Winston White. Eddie Gormley made no mistake with the spot kick to give Doncaster the initiative. But that was the way of things until the dying seconds of the match and 2 unexpected late goals. It was White who made absolutely sure of the 3 points. Again, poor Torquay defending and an easy finish for the Rovers striker.